back here at the Nationwide Arena. I'm Jimmy Garcia on KZSU 90.1 FM. Cardinal up 2-0 and trying to make their first national championship appearance since 2008, which they lost to Penn State. It was a stretch where the Cardinal went 3 straight years, lost all 3. They haven't won a championship since 2004, when they actually defeated Minnesota in the championship game. Right now, Stanford doing it on all sides of the ball. Currently, Stanford's hitting .253 compared to the .137 hitting percentage by Minnesota. What Stanford's been able to do so well this game is mix the block with the offense. Inkia Janaku right now has 10 kills and 6 blocks. On pace for another great game from her as the teams come back out of the locker room with about a minute and a half left to go before we get back to action in the third. Worth noting, as the Cardinal team comes back out, Minnesota's still in the locker room. For Stanford, there's got to be just one message that head coach John Dunning and Inkia Janaku, the team leader, gave in the locker room, and that is to just keep pounding the ball. Stanford has 11 blocks, which is way ahead. That's basically where they finish most games if they're sweeps at. Right now, 11-2. They had 6 in that second set. Stanford was down at one point before going on a bit of a tear where they recorded 3 blocks in 5 possessions, dominating the ball. For Minnesota, Sarah Wilhite having a good game, but what is a good game? She has 13 kills, which you might say, well, that's a nice number. Well, she has 6 hitting errors. Well, that's not the best. That's tied with Catherine Plummer for the most in the game. But she has 40 attempts, which means they're setting for her so much right now. While players like Alexis Hart have 7 kills on 4 swings, and Lohman right now has 5 kills on 12 errorless swings. I'm not sure why they're not getting the ball more to Molly Lohman. Seliger Swenson has 24 assists to Jenna Gray's 25. Stanford edging out the Golden Gophers in just about every category right now. More kills, fewer hitting errors, fewer attempts for Stanford, resulting in a better hitting percentage. Stanford has more assists, more service aces, more digs, and more blocks. Through 2 sets, there's no doubt who should be up right now. But the only question is who's going to come out and play in the third. Are we going to see the Stanford team that we saw in the first 2 sets and who we saw finish out the game against Wisconsin? Stanford's now won 5 straight sets as the girls are back out on the court kind of goofing around a little bit, having some fun. And that was one of Inkia Janaku's big messages to this team was, as big as this moment is, she remembers the first year that she came to the Final Four and how she let the spotlight kind of get to her a bit, and how she wanted her players this year to take in the moment, but also remember that they are still volleyball players and they still have a job to do. And this Cardinal team, starting 4 freshmen with the top recruiting class in the nation, have really done a great job. Back to action. Teams have switched sides once again. Stanford in front of us here for the third. Stanford in their road reds. The libero Morgan Hentz in her white jersey. Minnesota in their home whites. Rosado, the libero, in her black uniform. Seliger Swenson off the set for the third set. Hentz, Gray, Plummer near side, gets the first kill of the third set. Janaku's coming in for Hentz. And this is one of those units where Stanford gets caught at times when Adriana Fitzmaurice, who's going back to serve right now, is stuck on the back line. She'll be serving from the near middle part of the court. The top recruit in the nation coming into this year sends a good one down. Rosado, Swenson, Wilhite. Cardinal unable to dig it as McKenna got a hand on it, and it went soaring into the net, and Plummer couldn't get a hand on it. 1-1 early on in the third. Both of these 2 teams have been neck and neck throughout the first 15 points of each of the sets as Sarah Wilhite's back to serve. Plummer with a strong dig. Gray, slide, Janaku, blocked down as Hart and Lohman combined to get at the big double block there on the outside. 2-1. Janaku's had a few hitting errors today. 10 kills, 4 errors, 17 swings. McKenna, Gray, near side for Plummer, able to rip it down through the block there, gets the tip call, and she picks up her 9th kill of the game. Right now, the Cardinal playing their normal game. They're spreading the ball. Joniku with 10 kills, Plummer with 9, Fitzmaurice 6, and Moretta Lutz has 5. Jenna Gray back to serve. Near right corner, gets it going down Rosado. Swenson, back line goes Wilhite. Miss hits it. Point to the Cardinal. They're up 1 as they're back to their true tall, small lineup that's given Minnesota a lot of issues here today. We said it going in, Stanford had to block this game. And even when they don't get the block itself is throwing off the hitters. Grayson's a good one down here. Rosado, Swenson, Lohman blocked down, recovered by Wilhite. Swenson, Lohman, once again, she'll get the kill as she doesn't miss it the second time through. Hence was able to get a hand on it, but it falls out of bounds. Tied up at 3 here in the 3rd. Stanford up 2-0, looking to punch their ticket to the national championship game. Page tap, back to serve, far right corner, Hence, Gray, up the middle goes to Joniku, and she's able to get the kill through a big block right there. Minnesota has adjusted their block here as they are primarily going after a Joniku. They sent 3 defenders at her right there, and she was still able to get it to go. Plummer will be serving from the near right corner. Rosado, Seliger Swenson, near side for hand tap, dug out by Hens. Gray, bump set for Vonyak, dug out by the Cardinal. Gray, back for Vonyak, able to get it to go on the cross court swing. Card now up 5-3. Stanford's playing like a team that's hungry. And right now they've just got the edge. Plummer back to serve. Rosado, Seliger Swenson, Hart gets the kill as the block of the Cardinal falls out of bounds. Plummer got a hand on it as it flew to her in the back line. It's a Joniku, Gray, Lutz up front with Vonyak, Hence, and Plummer. This is a very tall unit for Stanford. Up by 1-5-4. And back to serve, it's Shaw from the far left corner. Plummer, Gray, a Joniku gets it to go up the middle. 12 kills in the game for Inky. The Cardinals' block hasn't come around in either of the first 2 sets so far until late in the game and late in the sets. It's happening again here as they still don't have one. And Hence can't get it to go over the net. Service error, it's 6-5. Still up by 1. Stanford just trying to keep pressing and not give up the lead. Sarah Wilhite with 14 kills on 42 swings. Leads players in both categories, but does also lead everyone with the errors. Plummer, Gray, out to Lutz on the outside. Blocks there, and they're unable to get to it. Rosado thought she had it. Great dig by the front line with Wilhite and Lohman. That's actually Hannah Tapp. 7-5 for the Card. Kelsey Humphreys will sub out for Moretta Lutz, and she'll go back to serve from the near left corner. The senior puts a good one down here. Seliger Swenson to Wilhite, and she gets the big kill right there as she got about 1.5 feet above the net and just threw it down with some anger. And that's the Sarah Wilhite that we're used to seeing. Rosado back to serve. Far right corner of the libero for the Gophers goes. Plummer, Gray, out to Vonyak, and she mishits it. Oh, they're going to give the Cardinal the point off the block. And they're going to say that she found the court too. I thought it may have sailed a little bit. And Stanford with a young unit now. Their 4 key freshmen with Holland McKenna now in the game for Vonyak going back to serve and Kelsey Humphreys. McKenna with a good serve down here. Wilhite struggles. Service ace. Card up 9-6. Stanford had the best recruiting class in the nation. Timeout taken. The recruiting class included the #1 overall recruit in the nation in Adriana Fitzmaurice. That's back-to-back years for the Cardinal, landing the #1 recruit. Last season they got Haley Hodson, who turned into the National Freshman of the Year, and Plummer picks up the award this year, so back-to-back years. Rounding out the great freshman class, Morgan Hentz, the libero, and wow, oh wow, is she incredible. You mix in Jenna Gray, who's become the new full-time setter, and the two missing players, the two Keefe twins, Michaela and Caitlin. Michaela Keefe, out with injury, actually played and started a few games for Stanford when Haley Hodson went out with her lower body injury before picking up an injury of her own. And Caitlin Keefe has not seen much playing time this season just due to position players in front of her. Moretta Lutz was honored as a third-team All-American, while Ajanaku and Plummer named to the All-First-Team All-American list. Plummer, the only freshman on that All-First Team in the nation. Pretty impressive for her. And while Stanford is going to miss Ajanaku next season a lot, they know they're going to get a lot of production from Michaela Keefe next season, as well as Haley Hodson's return. Stanford's been the underdog a lot this season. They were counted out multiple times. Going into Wisconsin, they thought they had no chance. When they got down 2-0, they said it wasn't possible. Stanford made it happen. They've been rolling ever since. 5 straight sets. They're up here in the third, 9-6. Stanford still with no blocks through 15 points. McKenna serving from the near right corner as we're back to action. Rosado, Seliger Swenson for Wilhite, and she's able to get the kill on the outside. With Minnesota, they play with a lot of fire, meaning they set Wilhite a lot, which for the Cardinal makes it easy to figure out where to throw the block, but also she's so good that sometimes she can just hit around it. Swenson back to serve, far left corner. Hentz, Gray, near side to Plummer, off the antenna point to the Minnesota Golden Gophers. And Plummer with 9 kills but has 8 hitting errors. Check that, 7 hitting errors in this game. She has really struggled her last 2 games out on the court. The long season starting to get to her a little bit. Swenson back to serve. McKenna, Gray, and Plummer has to 3-ball it over. Lohman for Seliger Swenson, out to Wilhite. And Stanford unable to block it down, and now 3 straight for Minnesota. The Minnesota fans behind us very loud, trying to cheer their team to victory. Seliger Swenson serving from the same part of the court. McKenna, Gray, out to Fitzmaurice. Block on the outside. Lohman and Wilhite. And right now, Minnesota's got some momentum. 4 straight for them. Head coach John Dunning going to call a timeout. Necessary on that one. As now the Golden Gophers with 4 straight take a 1-point lead at 10-9. We're going to take a break here on KZSU 90.1 FM. I'm Jimmy Garcia. Thanks for listening, and we'll be right back.
For over 2 decades, our beloved Cardinal have dominated the collegiate athletics landscape. From Pac-12 conference matchups to bowl games and NCAA tournaments, KZSU has been right there with them like family. Stanford Athletics is a family you too can join and support. The Buck Cardinal Club was started in 1934 and it still continues to this day to support over 900 student athletes. By joining the Buck Cardinal Club, you can help them on and off the field and throughout the Stanford community. To find out more about the Buck Cardinal Club, go to buckcardinal.com. Your gift will help our athletes as we take on championships, bowl games, tournaments, and more. Thank you, and go Stanford!
Back to action here in the Nationwide Arena. I'm Jimmy Garcia. So far, Minnesota has 2 blocks in the set, while Stanford's still looking for their first here. It's gone kind of quiet. Look for Ajanaku to come back in at the next side out. She leads the team in kills and blocks. And right now, Stanford's offense looking a little sluggish. They've been caught a few times this season with this young unit out there, and they have struggled at times. Stanford needs the side out here as they've dropped 4 straight points. Seliger Swenson serving. McKenna, Gray, the slide, Fitzmaurice mishits it. Point to the Golden Gophers. And right now, Stanford beating themselves. 4 hitting errors in this set, while Minnesota's hitting .556 right now. Swenson dominating the service line. McKenna, Gray, near side to Plummer, and she's able to rifle it down. 1-point game. Adroniku's coming back in, and she's got that look in her eyes like she's got something to prove right now. And when Inky Adroniku has something to prove, watch out. Fitzmaurice back to serve, middle part of the court. She now rotates out to the near right side. Rosado, Seliger Swenson for Lohman up the middle. Cardinal got a hand on it. Plummer has to hit it over. Wilhite, Swenson, near side jousted over. And the point goes to the Gophers off of a net violation on Stanford. Oh, they're going to call a double hit. 12-10 now. Stanford down 2 after being up 3 at 9-6. Very similar to what happened in the second set against Wisconsin when they were up 15-11. Sarah Wilhite's turn to serve now. Far left corner, picking on Plummer. Gray, the slide. Adroniku roll shot. Rosado able to pancake save it. Point to Stanford. And they're going to call a double hit there. 12-11. And this is where we've seen both teams at the first 2 sets. So while Stanford was ahead, unsurprising to see where we're at right now. It's 12 serving 11 with Gray back to serve. Stanford in their true tall small. Sends a good one down here. Rosado, Seliger Swenson. From the back line goes Wilhite. Dug out by Gray. Bump set, Hentz. Out to Lutz on the outside. And she mishits it by a mile out of bounds, trying to find the line. It was covered well, hitting error. Gophers up by 2. Moretta Lutz has had a bit of a down game. 6 kills, 2 hitting errors, but 15 swings. Little inefficient. Tap back to serve. McKenna struggles. Gray sets it on the outside for Plummer. Just kind of hits it down, recovered. Swenson, the slide, jousting it over Hentz. Gray has to go a long way to set it. Near side for Lutz, off the block. She gets the kill. 1-point game, 13-12. Card down 1. Ivana Vanyak comes in. She's had a pretty good game. 4 kills, 1 hitting error, but 14 swings from her. Plummer back to serve. Stanford with 3 service aces. Can Plummer make it 4? Rosado with a nice dig. Outside to Hart, who just crushes it down. And that was a monster kill from Alexis Hart there, 14-12. Stanford cannot get under this 2-point deficit at the moment. They need to break through here. And back to serve for them, Shaw. Hence with a strong dig. Gray up the middle for Adroniku, off the block. Rosado digs. Seliger Swenson for Hart. Plummer able to dig. Gray able to save it. Hence has to 3-ball it over. Rosado. Seliger Swenson. Hart stuffed by Lutz on the outside. And she is fired up. Going one-on-one with one of the best hitters in the nation. Alexis Hart, only a freshman, but wow, oh wow, can she ball. She's the second leading killer on this team. 1-point game. Hence with a good serve. Overpass play at the net. Recovered by the Golden Gophers. Outside to Hart. Hence digs. That was a rifle. Gray. Lutz has to hit around the block. Dug out cleanly by Shaw. Seliger Swenson. Backline goes Wilhite. Gray has to dig. Bump set Hence for Vanyak. Hits it down. Tied up at 14. Hence back to serve. Wilhite. Seliger Swenson for Hart. Mishits it. Point to the Cardinal. A little bit of a block from Fitzmaurice, and Stanford goes back up by 1 now, 15-14. So they were up 9-6. They lose the lead, and they just battle back. Hence serving like a machine. Rosado struggles. Seliger Swenson from the back line goes Wilhide. Plummer able to dig. Gray will set near side for Lutz. And Moretta mishits it there. Point to the Golden Gophers. Stanford with 10 kills on 6 hitting errors here in the third, while Minnesota has 8 kills on 3 hitting errors, 20 swings for them. Back to serve. Hence, Gray, Lutz off the block. Swenson recovers. Rosado gonna set for Wilhide. Hence gets a hand on it. Gray for Vonyak. Roll shot. Wilhide digs. Seliger Swenson. The slide from hand to tap. Plummer would get a hand on it. Hence will bump set it. Near side. Vonyak's gonna just push it over. Rosado. Seliger Swenson. Wilhide. Gray gets a hand on it. Vonyak. And Lutz has to 3-ball it over. Awkward play. It doesn't go over the net. And the point goes to Minnesota as Vonyak tried to save it and Lutz hit it into the net. 16-15, Gophers up 1. Back to serve Goner. Serving from the far left corner. Plummer with a good dig. Gray out to Lutz. Off the block. They're going to say no touch. I thought she got one there. Interesting call as Minnesota goes up 2. Can Stanford get the side out now here? The Cardinals' block has been a little soft here in the third. Plummer, Gray, Vonyak, off the block, Shaw digs. Seliger Swenson for Wilhide, Hence can't dig. And the Stanford block is all out of sync right now. Minnesota up 3, John Dunning's calling a timeout. 18-15. We're going to keep it here for this timeout as the Cardinals have sort of fallen apart a little bit. The latter part of this set, they're down by 3. As really it's just been a lot of hitting errors. Both teams playing good volleyball. And right now Minnesota picking up their dig numbers here in this set. Right now Stanford has more. They have 9 more, 54-45. But Minnesota's sticking with their pace here in this set. Stanford's hitting .074, while Minnesota's hitting .250. Stanford's hitting in the .074. Golden Gophers at .250. And in the 4-set game out at Minnesota, or here at Stanford, the second game of the season for both of these squads, Stanford won the first 2. They lost the third in extra points, and they won handily in the fourth. Could it be the same situation? We'll wait and see. Can Stanford come back from 3 down? Most definitely doable. But can they get a Joniku back in the game? Plummer's had a bit of a down game. Lutz as well with 5 hitting errors. She's really struggled right out on the court. And Fitzmaurice had a couple timely hitting errors. Only 2, but those 2 were so crucial when she got them. Stanford down by 3. It's 18-15. They're up 2-0 overall. Minnesota trying to fuel a 3-set comeback. Stanford trying to punch their ticket to the national championship game here in the third. Joniku trying to come in the game. The serving for Minnesota has really picked up. Goner back to serve. Far left corner. Plummer. Gray. Fitzmaurice up the middle. Gets the kill as the block falls out of bounds. Humphreys will sub in for Moretta Lutz and go back to serve. Stanford could go for a service ace here. Humphreys will be serving from the near left corner. One of 2 seniors. The righty sends a good one down here. Struggled with Seliger Swenson. Hand a tap. Miss hits it. Cardinal within 1 off the hitting error. 1-point game, 18-17. Stanford, their block, only 1 here in the set. They had 11 through the first 2. Good serve down here. Seliger Swenson going to set for Wilhide. Stuffed on the outside. Fitzmaurice and Gray tie it up at 18. We said would the block come around? They have. Timeout taken as the cheers on the sideline from the bench are going crazy. We're going to take a timeout here on KZSU 90.1 FM. Stanford up 2-0. We're tied here at 18-18. Once again, I'm Jimmy Garcia. Thanks for listening, and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Nick Sullivan with KZSU Sports. It's been a fantastic ride for the Cardinal in the last few years, and KZSU has been there with you all the way. We're a student-run organization, and we need your help to continue broadcasting all the great Stanford sports. Please send us a donation by mail to KZSU, P.O. Box 20190, Stanford, California 94309. That's KZSU, P.O. Box 20190, Stanford, California 94309. Or you can click the donate link on KZSU's webpage at kzsu.stanford.edu. Thanks for all your support, and go Stanford!
Back here on KZSU 90.1 FM, Jimmy Garcia here on the call in Minnesota. There is a flash flood warning in the Bay Area. We'll be back on air in just a moment. Humphreys back to serve near left corner. Sends a good one down here. Seliger Swenson's going to set. Outside for Wilhite. Hence able to get to it. Plummer going to set it for Vonyak. Dug out from the back line. Swenson out for Wilhite. Rips it down on the outside. 19-18. Minnesota up 1. Rosado back to serve. 19-18. Serving from the far right corner, the libero in the black jersey for the Gophers goes. Plummer, Gray, out to Vonyak, blocked down. Wilhite and Page Tapp combined. Stanford with some crucial hitting errors in this one. Back on KZSU 90.1 FM. Jimmy Garcia, Minnesota's up 20-18 here in the third. Rosado back to serve. Sends it long, service error, Stanford's back within 1. Ajanaku hasn't played a lot here in the third. And she's been the best player for Stanford here today. 1 point game, and Stanford's played one of their worst sets of the season. McKenna served from the near middle part of the court. Good one down here. Seliger Swenson out to Wilhite, and she rips it down off the block, picking up her 20th kill of the game. 55 swings for Sarah Wilhite. She's had a great game as she pushes the Golden Gophers up to 21-19. Back to serve Seliger Swenson, far left corner. Plummer, Gray, back for Plummer. Miss. Oh, they're going to get the kill off the block. At first, Minnesota all signaled like they had gotten it. Hence will come out. Fitzmaurice back to serve. Ajanaku up front now. Can Stanford get a block? They've only had 2 here in the set. Adriana going to be serving from the near middle part of the court. There's going to be a challenge on the court. Play under review. We haven't had one of these all season except for the first 2 weeks of the season when we were out in the Big Ten Pac-12 Challenge out in Boulder, Colorado. It was available. Video replay available here. This is a crucial call for Minnesota as it would move it back to a 1 point game or a 2 point game for them. Well, for Stanford, it would move it to a 1 point game with Fitzmaurice back to serve and Ajanaku back up front. She already has 7 blocks in the game. Plummer was pretty sure she had gotten a tip. It was pretty close at the net. After review, they're going to call a tip, point to the Cardinal, 21-20. This is a nail-biting third. Fitzmaurice serving from the near middle part of the court. Fitzmaurice takes a couple dribbles, sends a good one down here. Rosado struggles, and from the back line, 3-bonded over was Lohman. Humphreys, Gray, near side to Plummer, off the block, recovered. Swenson Wilhite. Humphreys able to dig. Gray tries to push it down. Overpass. Out of bounds. Point to Stanford. Tied up as it was a funky play. Jousted back and forth. 21-21. We're rocking here in the Nationwide Arena in Columbus, Ohio. Nebraska and Texas to follow. Good serve down here. Rosado, Seliger, Swenson, Wilhite. And the point goes to Minnesota off of a net violation on Stanford, 22-21. Stanford trying to work around, facing a set point. Back to serve Sarah Wilhite. Big Ten Player of the Year. Far left corner. Plummer with a bad dig. Gray saves it. Humphreys able to send it over. Seliger Swenson out to Hart. And she picks up the big kill there. Stanford was lucky to save it as Humphreys went flying into the ESPN camera crew here. 23-21. Minnesota up 2. Can they steal the set? Wilhite back to serve again. Just gets it under, and it doesn't get over. Service error, 23-22. Stanford going to finish out the set in their true tall, small. Lutz, Plummer, and Ajanaku up front. Hence, Holland McKenna on the back line with Jenna Gray back to serve. Can Stanford get a service ace here? They've got 3 this game. Gray looking for her first. Hart. Out back for her. Roll shot. Gray able to dig. Bump set. Hence. Plummer off the block. Lutz able to dig it out. Gray will set. Up the middle for Ajanaku. And Minnesota able to recover. Hart has to hit it over. McKenna. Gray. Ajanaku. Roll shot. Up the middle. Wilhite able to hit it back over. McKenna. Gray. Out to Lutz. Off the block. Plummer recovers. Gray. Back for Plummer. The block's there. And it's set point for Minnesota. 24-22. Stanford needs 2 straight to fight back. They're up 2-0. You don't want to give Minnesota any breathing room. This is a deadly team. Very quiet third set from the Stanford team as Wilhite's been on a tear. Tap with a good serve, Hence. Gray, Ajanaku, Wilhite able to dig. Seliger Swenson outside for Hart. Hence able to dig. Gray will set near side for Lutz. Blocks there. Wilhite digs. Seliger Swenson for Hart. Block down. Ajanaku tips it over. Lohman back out for Hart. Off the block. Hence able to dig. McKenna bump set for Lutz. Hits around the block. Dug out. Seliger Swenson for Lohman. Gray able to dig. And they're going to give the point to Minnesota. Off of a net violation. So Minnesota Stanford up 2-1. That's going to go to 4. A tough third set loss as Stanford hits extremely poorly. 12 kills on 10 hitting errors, 41 swings. Sarah Wilhite up to 21 kills and 59 swings. Right now, Plummer with 8 hitting errors. Lutz has 5, and that's been the tail of the tape, as well as the Cardinals' soft block there in the third. Minnesota forces a fourth set like they did out at Maples. We'll be back in a few short moments with the fourth set. Thanks for listening. I'm Jimmy Garcia, and we'll be right back.